I paused and I was like, I don't know how to clean one girl, baby. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hey guys, welcome back. Last video I talked about my labor story, delivery story, the works. This week we're gonna talk about postpartum period, like that whole period after you have the baby. A lot of people refer to it as the fourth trimester, that first 3 month period right after you have your baby. It's something else, and with every child it is absolutely different. This is my third child, and it blew my mind. It took me away. I had some expected challenges, but then I also had some not so expected challenges. So I'm gonna get all up close and personal. I am going to just be straight up here and real. It did bad. Um, so we're gonna start right after birth. So the first thing that happened, after I gave birth and we were clean and no in our area on the nursery, I paused and I was like, I don't know how to clean one girl, baby. No, it sounds maybe pretty weird to some people. Some people would have even Googled and like just research, but I didn't. So when I brought her in the nursery and I was supposed to change her diaper for the first time, I took the diaper off because the nurse tidied the baby and dressed the baby right after you give birth. So I was gonna take off that first diaper, and I was like, I've never seen a baby vagina before. And then it dawned on me, I don't know how to clean this. Like, yeah, I have one. I have a grown-up one, but I don't know how to clean it. There are certain things I wasn't expecting. Hormones during pregnancy can affect the anatomy of a baby girl. At birth, temporary effects, but they present themselves in a way where if you weren't prepared for it, if you didn't know about it, it can kind of frighten you. So there was this lady beside me, and I looked over, I heard her talking, and she was like talking about her different kids. And so she looked over at me and she said, "That's a pretty little baby." And I said, "Thank you." And she asked me if it was my first baby. And I was like, "No, but it's my first girl." And she said, "Oh, I have two girls, and this is my third girl." And I said, "Oh, I don't know how to clean a baby vagina." And she laughed, and she was kind enough to basically assist me. She said, "All right, just do your thing, and if you're not doing it right, I'll tell you." So I did my thing. I did what I instinctively knew how to do, and I cleaned her up. And she said, "Yeah, man, you got this." And so I went along, continued to clean my baby up, and we were good. Now, after birth, like, I was in some pain because your womb trying to contract, breastfeeding helping that speed along, and so the pain of contractions were pretty intense. So I was feeling a lot of cramping right after and during breastfeeding. Everything was fine. I was high off the happiness and everything. Went home that same day. Was home. Throughout pregnancy, my feet were swollen, like big kind of swell. Um, but shortly after birth, it went down, and so I thought everything was good. I didn't have any like major challenges during pregnancy. I didn't have any preeclampsia or blood pressure issues or blood sugar issues. So I thought everything was all good, right? 6 day clinic come. Um, I went to the clinic, got our checkup, and they took my blood pressure reading and they asked if I had pressure issues during pregnancy, and I said no, I don't. Um, I didn't have any issues during pregnancy. My blood pressure reading at that time was 158/85. So the nurse was saying she's gonna send me to the doctor. So when I went to the doctor at the clinic, still, she said, "Oh, one reading is nothing to be worried about. So I'm just gonna tell you when you go back to 6 week clinic, 6 weeks from now, then if you have a high reading, they can know what to do then." Obviously, they were trying to get rid of me because, like, what the hell, right? So she gave me some Panadol, and she said to just check with them when I go to 6 week clinic to see if my pressure is still high. I didn't like that. Plus, I had a headache, so I started wondering, headache, pressure. This doesn't sound good. So I left. This was 6 days. So on like the 27th. Yeah, it was the 27th. Went home, still wasn't feeling so okay. I just had a headache. My feet were a little swollen. The next morning, my head was hurting worse. So I checked on my grandfather who lives close by. I checked on his blood pressure machine and realized that my blood pressure was 168/87, and I was like, this is not right. I reached out to someone I knew, and she said to check with the hospital. So I called the hospital, the maternity unit, and they said I should come back to the hospital with the baby. I started getting nervous, like super nervous, panicky. But I went. When they checked the pressure again, it just kept going up. By the time I got to the hospital, it was like 180 something over 98, I believe. They gave me some injections to try and bring it down. Didn't help. They gave me a pill. I think it's called Aldomet. Yeah. So they gave me a pill and it brought it down by like 1. So technically it wasn't moving. They wanted to admit me, but third world country problems. The hospital, they had no space. So I was there from like 11 o'clock in the morning. After 1 in the night, they're still checking me and they said, all right, here's what, we don't have any space for you to stay on the ward. I was kind of happy because I didn't want to stay on the ward. I didn't want to be admitted there. I just wanted to be home. The hospital makes me feel, to be honest, quite stressed, and I'm sure that wasn't gonna help. By this time, my feet were swollen all the way up to my knees, from my ankles to my knees, and it was worrisome. I had the baby there. Her daddy was there, so he had her outside in like the open area. And whenever she needed to be fed, I would have like just gone inside. I would bring her inside and feed her, and then she would be back with her dad. Although it was a scary time for me, I tried to stay positive because like my little princess was here, and I just had to stay positive. The blood pressure readings were a bit scary. I got the medication. I got referred to see a nutritionist. The pressure was, when I say crazy, it was really crazy. Like, do you see these numbers? Holy shit. So, yeah, I was taking my medication to try and get it down. So the pressure wasn't going down, and they said I could go home, but I had to come back the next day to be monitored. I went back the next day. They gave me like a prescription They gave me a prescription for the pressure medication. I said come back in 2 days if it's not back to normal, then they would have to find space and admit me. I would have to keep the baby up there, but I would be admitted. Pressure keep climbing, right? I went back in the 2 days. They did them ECG. They did a lot of stuff. My blood pressure, they said I was experiencing postpartum hypertension. They said that, within the first 6 weeks after having a baby, then you can still suffer from the same issues you possibly could have suffered from during pregnancy. Ooh. Shock to me because I did not realize it. So the blood pressure was not budging. Like, no matter how I tried to calm down, how I tried to do some deep breathing, it was not working. I couldn't get out of my head. The thing is, after she came, I had this anxiety. Like, I didn't realize there was a thing as postpartum anxiety. I knew about postpartum depression, but not anxiety. Every time I looked down at her, I was like, how did you come out? You're so big. Because she was pretty big. She was 8 pounds, but she looked like 10. She was pretty big, right? She was beautiful, but she was big. And so every time I looked down at her, I started having these little inner tremors. Like, I kept feeling, yo, how did you come out? And every time I would think that, I felt my heart racing a bit. I never think said that or nothing, honestly. I did not think it was anything, but I started realizing that may have had something to do with it. So, anyways, second day at the hospital, they said, yo, we're gonna refer you to the nutritionist, but we're also going to have our specialist check you out. So we're gonna prescribe medication for your high blood pressure for a while and have you come back to us in a week. I got the pressure medication filled out, that prescription. I got it filled out. I get a bag of pills. I took. It wasn't working after the week. They sent me back for more pills, like stronger dosage, and say, okay, in 4 days come back. So the pressure was going for a while, but I started using up some old remedies that I know about and that, other people told me about when they found out what was going on with me. So the one that I think worked the most, first let me give you some of them that I had. There was coconut water and lime, there was Pepsi and lime, there was lime and water, there was lemon and water. The most effective, I'd say, is the Pepsi and lime. It was like a room temperature Pepsi with a whole lime squeezed into it. It never tastes bad at all either, but it helped to bring the pressure down. The medication though, the people that giving me this crap load of medication, like me tell nobody say I want to live on pressure medication first in my life. So with that being said, I took the medication. I had gotten a blood pressure machine to borrow, and so I was monitoring it 3 times a day. I had adjusted my diet to reflect that of a hypertensive person's own, and so I was having a low sodium intake at all my meals. Because genuinely, I didn't want to stay on those medications. I've always been told that if you start taking pressure medication, that you're gonna be on it for life, and I didn't want that. I really didn't want that. So I started doing all those things, doing my meditation daily, my deep breathing exercises daily, and after like 2 weeks, I was able to start taking less and less of the medication. And when I finally went back for my 3rd review, it had been about 4 days since the last time I took a pressure pill, and my pressure was okay. It was high, but it was like high normal or a low high. It was 135/78. And they said, fine, we won't need you to come in for another review. Just monitor your sodium intake, monitor your blood pressure until 6 weeks postpartum because anything can happen during that time, and just try to stay healthy. Me never need to take no more pressure pill. There have been times since then where I've had spikes, like the other day, about a month ago. I had this spike where it was like 189 over, I can't remember, but it was 90 something, 189 over 90 something, and I had to take one of the pressure medication. One thing I'm gonna like about it, honestly, when I take it, dreams I have, the vivid dreams that I have, the vivid crazy dreams that I have. And I thought I was losing my mind, but then I did a little read up on the internet and found out that it was a side effect of that medication. So there was a postpartum hypertension. There was postpartum anxiety. There was also a bit of postpartum depression because there were days when I had some thoughts that they weren't good. They weren't a reflection of an okay person. Sometimes I allowed myself to mentally go down some roads where them never safe at all. Them never safe. But one day at a time, one step at a time, I took it easy as I could. Whenever I found myself beating up on myself mentally, I would take a breath and retrace my steps and start focusing on things that made me feel better in the moment until I started feeling good, right? So I would go take a walk outside. I would try to play with the baby. I would talk to my sons, or if I wasn't in the mood to talk, I would just give her to her dad and go sit outside for as long as I could. Sometimes it was 5 minutes, sometimes it was 30 minutes. For the first part, I couldn't really get like an hour or so, and that was a bit challenging for me because I felt like I had so much noise in my head. There were so many things going on. But 5 months later, it's gotten way better. It's really gotten better, physically and mentally. I have started feeling more like myself again day and day. But trust me when I tell you that was one of the scariest periods in my life because I kept hearing, yo, your pressure is this high, you can have a stroke at any minute. I kept having these horrible headaches, and I was trying to calm myself down and stay calm and relaxed to alleviate the pressure issues to make them go down. But the more the headache come on and the more the pressure rise, the more stress me get, and it was just an unhealthy, seemingly never-ending cycle. It was frustrating. There were periods where the crying would get to my head, I just couldn't. I couldn't. But I must say, with great support, I've come through that period. I'm not gonna say I've come through unscathed. I've learned some life lessons during that time, and I've learned how to balance my time even better as a mom. As they all say, every pregnancy is different, but this third one lit me for six. It highlighted my weaknesses and helped me to find new strengths. Because trust me when I tell you that the mental fortitude I now have is definitely an improvement from what I had a year ago. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the challenges that I went through after this pregnancy, because everything on my thing say, all right, I would no longer need to be worrying about. Now that I had the baby, they started to show themselves. And the one that I was worrying about. This is what I'm talking about manifestation. You know, yo, I was worried throughout the entire 9 months of pregnancy about this postpartum hypertension, rather preeclampsia, high blood pressure in pregnancy. I was worried about it, and every little thing, you know, try to make sure so I'm steady, I'm a calm. And lo and behold, after I had the baby, the same thing I was worrying about constantly came to me. I attracted it. I attracted that. I know that. So honorary mention and big shout out go to my hair. I went through what's called postpartum alopecia or hair loss. The all of my edges them fall out. Like I woke up one day and I was like in my hair and I felt a bald spot. I was like, what? And I started looking and saw that the hair went away. So I had to do some twists to try and hide it, make it not so obvious. Where every time I comb my hair, you see this big old bald spot at the sides. Yeah, it had me very self-conscious, feeling very insecure. But I have gotten through it and it is now growing back slowly but surely. Thank God for that. The craziness that I had to do with my hair. Oh my God. So with that being said, I want to share this message out there to any expecting mom, any person who's a mom already, or just anybody on a whole who sometimes find themselves challenged to keep it together. If you feel like you're gonna lose your shit, just take a minute. If you can only take 5 minutes, if you can only afford 1 minute, take a minute and just breathe. You know, try not to think about anything. Try to just focus only on your breath. Focus on breathing in the moment. It might not immediately fix the issue, but it will stop what the issue is in that very moment, in that immediate moment. I want to share my respect to all the women who have gone down this road, all the mothers who have, you know, brought a child into this world. My respect goes to you. Bigger respect goes to the one that will have 4, 5, 6, and 7 children, because God knows they are not strong. Yeah, that's some strength there. Honestly, like the pain that I endured during this third pregnancy, it was quick. Yes, the labor was quick, as I talked about in the other video, in my previous video, but the pain is like the pain made up for the time that it didn't, you know, give me. The boys were 20 something hours each, and this girl was like 3 hours, and the 3 hours pain worse than the 220 odd hour them combined. Like, it's not right. It's not right. It's not right. It's just not right. But you know, I'm grateful that it's over. We went on that journey together, her in my womb, and she came out and we come home, we're good. She's now 5 months old. She is developing a whole personality. She's bonding well with her brothers. Everything is just, you know, working out as it should. So you know, looking forward to your comments if you have any, if you shared anything similar, if you experienced anything similar, because we all have a story and that story needs to be shared. You don't know who you can help if you share your own story. Your test can become your testimony, and your mess can most definitely become your message. Thanks for watching today, and I look forward to sharing more with you and just building this community of parents, of mothers. Until next time, bye-bye.